order the Community Economic Development Committee meeting for Monday, August 12th, 2024. This meeting will be held in person. It can also be viewed on local, obviously, it's in person. It can be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or the internet by accessing bucksportmaine.gov and selecting agenda and minutes and choosing this meeting and clicking on the video button next to the meeting. Questions or comments may be submitted prior to or during the meeting by emailing rich.rotella@bucksportmaine.gov or during the meeting by calling 307-8030. Roll call.
Josh Tripp.
Here.
Larry Wall.
Here.
John Paul Lalonde.
Here.
Richard Peterson.
Here.
Mark Eastman.
Here.
Joe DeVonzo.
Here.
Steve Bishop.
Here.
And Ron Russell.
Here.
First item is to approve minutes of the meetings of March of 24, June of 24, and July of 24. Any
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
comments or questions?
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Discuss guidelines for CED monies to local groups for events. You want to start on that, Rich?
Yes, so if you remember, the town council designated $20,000 to the economic development budget, in which this committee will approve for events, local events. And you had one event come to you, and just to clarify a misunderstanding, if this committee approves that event and that funding, it's approved, it is not going to the town council. So you approved $6,000 to Bacchus. Bacchus did not need $6,000. They changed their request to $3,000 after the budget was completed, and they changed the date to not coincide with the International Maritime Film Festival. It is now November 8th or 9th, whatever that
Saturday.
Saturday is. So this was just a little guidance. It's on last page in your packet. If, questions, or it's about 2 pages less than what groups fill out when they're requesting money
You mean through the budget process?
through the budget process itself.
Any?
Well, I have a question. So what you're saying is the 6,000 that we approved was under the understanding that it would go to the council.
And I was corrected by the town manager that the council's already approved that money through this committee, so this committee is the final
Shouldn't
say.
they then come back before us or something in order to correct?
You had approved through forwarding
You-
to
we-
the council.
Right, with the understanding that it would go to the council for either their approval or denial. I'm just saying
With the budget.
technically, yes, technically, I'm just asking the question, because we approved 6,000 to them.
Yep.
Now you're saying, well, they don't need 6,000, they need only 3,000, but there's no process in place.
We can leave that up to this committee.
Well, that's all I'm bringing up. I don't want to make it anything big, but it's important.
You'd like to see them come back? Is that where you're?
I'm just saying it'd be nice. They found out they didn't need as much money, which was
Yeah.
nice.
Good.
They were going to present us with a budget or present the council with a budget, which we do not have. Okay, so I'm just saying from the point of view, I think it's wonderful on what they're doing. Don't get me wrong, but there is a process. And evidently, we didn't understand that process.
Jess was prepared to come back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying she has to. The committee would make that decision. But obviously, we need to know what we're doing.
She was prepared to come back, and I was told that she didn't have to.
She spoke to me, I talked to Susan, and I was under the assumption that if you approved it to go to the council, that
Yes.
we were leaving it in their hands, so
Yeah.
I told her she did not need
So,
to come back.
so under that guidance, then we write a check to 6,000. You would have to give, they would have to give you 3,000 back. I'm just saying, if you get technical.
I don't think we actually approved it. Because
Recommend.
the guidance that we had
Yes.
was that it was like a lot of stuff that comes before this committee. It was, we recommended approval,
Yes.
but we thought that night we did not have the power to approve.
And for the first time, this committee, or economic development, has the money to do different events with.
Right.
This is a different
Right.
set of, this
Yep.
is a whole new thing this year. So that's, in the past, we would have sent that to the council, for the council to spend the money on those types of.
Yeah,
Totally understand why there was a misunderstanding.
that's right.
But I think you're right, Dick, in that what we did is we approved a recommendation to the council. So,
Yes.
you know,
So we're
and-
actually
and we
only
also
approving $3,000
stipulate-
right now.
Well, we're
Well,
not doing
it's not-
anything right now on that, on the 3,000. We're just talking about the process.
Right, yes. But she did ask for 6, and it's down to 3.
Well, that's what we understand.
Right.
Yes.
I understand your point, 'cause it's,
So moving forward, this application that Rich has made up on the back would, even in the short notice that Jess had to prepare for her presentation to us with a limited amount of time that she had, could very easily fill this out and get us the pertinent information to try to make a decision on. Correct?
Yeah, correct what we misunderstood.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Give
we're
us
not
some
gonna,
guidelines.
we're not gonna go back. We like the program. You know, it isn't about the program, it's about, okay, what else, that 20,000, if we vote on anything to do with that 20,000, is from this committee then.
That's correct.
Okay, good to know.
So this is a good template, this is a good guideline.
And that's all it is. If you don't like something, if you wanna add something, if you wanna strike something, again, and there, it is worded on there, has the town already approved funding for this specific event?
Yeah,
Because this is not to skirt the regular process.
Yep.
So, for example, if ABC nonprofit decides, well, geez, this is a one-page document, I'll just do this over and over instead of going to council asking for $20,000, because it's a lot easier and I can skirt the town. We're not asking you to do that. If XYZ company decides and they have a summer full of events, and then the last minute in the fall wanna put on an additional event because something became available to them that they weren't aware of,
Right,
that could fill in here.
yeah.
Or if Bach is getting restarted up, a little kickstart to help with the funds, but it's not to skirt the town council process.
Right.
Okay. I mean, what is the pleasure of the committee? Do you wanna see Jess propose a budget to?
No, I just wanna make sure that we're doing it the right way, and that the money being spent is, unless somebody comes through that door and says, well, you folks didn't do it the right way, or whatever, I don't wanna make a big thing out of this.
No, but
It's-
going forward, we're
I-
gonna clean it up.
Do we get receipts for, we approved the 6,000 or the 3,000. Is that a carte blanche, and if they spend less, what happens? Just following up on this.
If she doesn't use all the 3,000 on that particular
How do we
event.
know? Did they give us receipts, or we just let it go?
They provide you a budget, and then you do your, if you propose to take everything that's on here, they propose you a budget, you'll see where they'll agree to expend on it. So a performer has a set contract. It may cost $5,000 for said performer, $1,000 for advertising, $500 for custodial staff. So if it's a nonprofit, they don't have to pay to use
Right.
your
I
equipment.
would like to
Exactly.
make a motion to request their budget.
Just to approve it.
Just so we have it, because that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair
'Cause
enough. So-
to propose that they saying they're gonna spend that, then we don't know if they actually did spend that much. That's what I'm asking. Do we ever get receipts for how much they spend, or do we just trust it?
No, the town council doesn't either.
Yeah.
It's trust but verify, right? It's,
E-
you know,
exactly.
they'll provide you a budget, they're, you know, if the comedian, for instance, in this example, is 5,000, there's no need for Bacchus to say, let's put 5 even though it's 4, right? They'll tell you what the contract is, and they'll have that in their records, and if you're curious to know how much is cleaning personnel at the school, I'm sure that's public information that Dr. Tripp could let you know. Then it comes down to marketing. If you really wanna check the receipts on someone's marketing, that's what it's there for. So, like the extra that potentially would have been there from Bacchus, they were gonna put that into an account to continue with their marketing to go forward for other events. So doing it this way makes 100% total sense, and like, I apologize that I misunderstood Sue myself as well when this whole thing went down too, so I know it's kind of caused a little bit of a mess, so whatever the committee's pleasure is.
Well, we have a motion to
So-
review the budget, is that what you did?
Just to bring that budget that she was going to present, it was nice that she cut it in half on what she needs, but for legality reason, I think we need to have that budget. She was gonna present it to the council.
I would say we'd have to go through the whole process again. This should be taken care of with it, so that way it's all one way or no way.
That would be my recommendation, that, we back up, because most of what we did that night was not proper. So we back up and
Yeah.
we use this application process.
Yeah. And we know it's not until November,
Come.
so that's good. I agree with you.
We do that first, next meeting?
Yeah, so we'll have to have a quorum. There's gotta be quorums, and we cannot no longer have any meetings where we only don't have a quorum, because people are now gonna be depending on this money. So as I send this out, please just be available to be here for the meeting. We need at least 5 people to be here so that these can be approved. It's not gonna be email, it's gotta be in person, so.
Okay.
I will reach out to Jess and ask her to fill out an application, provide a budget, and we'll do that at the next meeting.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other input on the form itself? Anybody comfortable with it, what it is?
Do we feel that there ought to be a requirement that this is presented to us, you know, 2 months before the event, that is some period before the event, so that it's not,
Right up against it.
Yeah.
Do you have some bad room?
Well, the only question, I don't think I was here maybe when you did this, but, the only question I had, we're asking for a budget, but I don't, was this a free event that?
No.
No. So, I mean, the budget is gonna be subject to variables if they're charging admission anyway, so there's the possibility they could win or lose on any of these.
And the goal is for
I
them
know
to
that
make some
for a
money
fact.
to raise their coffers, was,
Mhm.
that was part of the reasoning.
Right, so, you know, the idea, if it's really to raise funds, I don't know that we need to know if they were successful or unsuccessful necessarily.
True, because if they were unsuccessful, yeah.
Right, they go in the hole, I
Right.
know about those.
And,
Yep.
and it is to raise funds for the Performing Arts.
Right.
Right, so if they're lucky enough to do so, then,
Yeah, that's what we'd like to see.
Rich, was she under a time crunch for money to lock in the comedian for November?
Meeting's already locked in according to what I know.
Okay, but they didn't get any upfront money to lock.
No, they haven't gotten the upfront money from the town. Not yet.
Is this gonna create any challenges for them, or?
If I caused the problem, if it's a problem, it'll come out of the town's marketing money. I caused
think
it,
we
I
correct that.
misunderstood it.
It's correctable.
Yes,
Make-
Yeah, it's correct.
I would say, everyone chime in on this, but like, we don't want to reverse her getting the
that's correct.
3,000. We want to go back to the beginning and just document that this is the first application, the first process, and the first time it's been done this way, and just make sure everything's continuous moving forward.
Perfect.
The only issue with that is then you have set the precedence that you did, that it wasn't done right. And again, it's my fault, I misunderstood.
Yep.
So I take full blame, and I have a budget for, if it comes out and it doesn't go in the right direction, then they sign a contract, I will man up and I'll take it out of the marketing budget that I have on the town, so.
And then it can be replaced anyway.
No, it can't, this is non-municipal, so it is what it is. I made a mistake and I will own it. If this committee decides it does not wanna fund it next month.
Oh,
It'll be taken
that
care
is-
of.
Well, we do.
I can't imagine that happening.
That's what we're saying. We
Yeah,
just-
if that would be the case, I wouldn't wanna move forward with anything. I mean, she came in, did an excellent job, didn't have the budget, so that's the only thing that was a hangup, was the budget, and then when she did the budget, she cut it in half. I mean, how many people out there would do that? Cut it in half when they've already been approved for 6,000. I mean, that's honesty at its highest. I just don't see us not passing it.
I don't know, but-
So that's a rarity. I'm looking forward to that.
As long as it doesn't slow her down.
It won't be slowed down.
All right.
Okay.
It won't.
So is everybody okay with the form as, with there's one change somebody had for you, right, wasn't there?
I think it was something to
The
add
months,
2 months, to have it to this committee 2 months before the event.
Yep.
I can add that to the file.
All right, if that's it, discuss retail space versus service space on Main Street.
So I was doing some research from other municipalities, and I went as far as Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow.
Did you get
I-
lost?
Yeah. It's going to be, it's going to be a little challenging. So what I'm showing you right now is from the town's website. This is Appendix K, the land uses. It goes alphabetical order, so accessory land uses is your first land use. Downtown, downtown shoreland, these are all the different areas in town. A lot of us live in the village area, right, just outside the downtown district, so. When you're looking to make changes to a zone, sort of like when Maine Maritime Academy was looking to go bring the Center for Professional Area Development at the former mill site, you're really looking at that use. So in this example here under accessory, I think we could all agree that a barn and a deck are separate. They're two different things, they serve two different purposes, however, they're both considered an accessory dwelling to your house or your business. So in this instance here, I know it comes up as services, but services is not a land use, and neither is retail, so. It may be where the committee may want to define what services. And this may help better explain it when I can get to it. Here we are. Assembly land uses. So an assembly land use, an art gallery, a place of worship, a restaurant. So a restaurant is considered an assembly use as well. So if the committee were to say, well, we wanna go and have the planning board and council say, we don't want any assembly land uses in the downtown district, essentially what you're saying is you don't want restaurants. If you're trying to say you don't want, for example, auction houses, if you say change the entire land use, you're also eliminating restaurants. That way, in my opinion, if it's something where you wanna look at this, you really have to understand what falls under an assembly land use. Restaurants, taverns, places of worship, meeting facilities, libraries. And if something already exists, it doesn't just go away. It becomes what's called a non-conforming use. And then there's the whole planning board and all of that, and then Lou has to get involved when it comes to that, so.
Well, one of the things we just did on the planning board was the marijuana, restricted, saying it couldn't be on downtown here, it had to be on that side of Route 1.
Correct.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's an example of just saying, okay, where do we want these things?
And I think, part of the, one of the best retail spaces is filled with a place of worship.
Don't get me going.
I don't know if you're good, if you're for or against, but.
No, I'm for whatever, I mean, the owner there has gone through a very difficult time, and if that's helping, I suppose that's fantastic. On
And
the other hand, I don't,
That use would remain as it is,
Yeah.
but going
That-
forward, is that what we want on Main Street?
well, that means there's no tax for a certain portion
That's it.
perhaps.
Mhm.
That's it. That's
Okay,
the
so
key.
we would be looking at that window, because, okay, if they can't be there, where are they going to be? Where is success? Where can you go? They've been there now for, oh gosh, quite a while,
2-3 years, yeah.
at least.
But we're not talking about that specifically.
No, but we're talking about how do you encourage downtown, one, to be full, and two, is a tax base as well. You're looking for what you can bring in for tax dollars. So restricting means you restrict it for a real purpose. Why are we restricting? Do we want law offices down there? Well, we already have some law offices down there, okay? All right, now, that brings certain people down, but it doesn't bring a whole mess of people down. And, you know, I think you're looking to have turnover of people coming in, buying, so I think you're talking retail. And that's a hard one today to say, yeah, I'm gonna restrict you all to retail, and then say, make money. And
I would agree.
How many empty buildings do we have on Main Street right now, Rich?
The former Rosen's department store, the old bank.
What about the clothing store next to the bookstore?
Oh.
I know she sold her house, is she moving out of there?
She sold she sold the building, but the person that bought the building is allowing that business to stay
Stay?
there. Yeah. So it's just a change of ownership of building, not business.
And what about the restaurant next to, supposedly the restaurant over here, the Thai rest, that's next to the thing here?
They're doing work. She came to the planning board and told the planning board last winter that she would not be really getting full on in here till, late summer, possibly not even to the late fall, early winter, because she had her Blue Hill and Ellsworth locations. So she's sticking to everything she's told the planning board. And they have been working there. We've seen them. There's stairs added, a deck added, a new back door, vinyl siding fixed. They're working inside now.
I'm just concerned about, so if there's 3 open buildings right now on Main Street, there would come a point where if I owned a building on Main Street, then I would wanna be doing what it took to make sure that
yes,
I had money coming in to pay the taxes or whatever I needed to pay to fill it.
that's my concern.
Well, we did go through this, what, a decade ago, Rich? Didn't we do this with, there was some push to make residential allowable on the first floor?
Yes, that
It was
was
about a decade.
slightly
Right.
before I started,
Yeah.
yeah, on the Main Street level, and that's sort of understand on the downtown district. So there's downtown and downtown Shorelands this side. From essentially Napa down to Gold Star Cleaner, at least 51% of the Main Street level has to be retail commercial. And on the other side of the road, that is true from Federal Street to
Mechanic?
Mechanic, where the post office is, yes, Mechanic. So on those areas, that's a true statement there, yes.
So retail, commercial, does that include services,
It does,
anything that is a business that's bringing in revenue?
correct.
Well, no, because
Well,
services,
assembly uses, remember, so.
Restaurants as
Assembly
well.
uses, so restaurants, churches, hairstylists, all of that.
That's all considered this, under the same grouping that, as
Correct, I
restaurants.
think we continue to say, or I continue to say retail, it's the land use, the assembly, the mercantile, and then there's certain items. So here, to understand a little bit better here, we're looking at downtown district, campgrounds has an X, not allowed. Outdoor festivals has a 0, it's allowed, no permitting required. L2, planning board, and somewhere over in one of these, you'll find an L1, that's code officer review only. And then you also have, in the example of the Lighthouse Art Center building, an art center, an assembly use was approved by the planning board, and it was replaced by another use. So houses of worship, places of worship are supposed to be a planning board review, but where it's replacing another, a similar assembly use, it did not need to go that route.
Gotcha.
So this goes basically against what you were trying to, a couple of months ago, when you suggested only retail space on, and there wouldn't be services, so this actually says no to that.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not steering the committee in one way or
No, I'm just-
another,
I'm
but
asking.
it's, yeah, what the committee had, members of the committee had asked for was to figure out a way, if it was doable, are there any examples? How does that need to happen? And in my opinion, instead of taking out an entire category and saying no, because I think the law of unintended consequences, if you say no assembly, well, you just eliminated restaurants. And I really think the town benefits from having restaurants in the downtown. So it's more than, and then it comes into, you know, are you picking on this type of business to say, because when you're not excluding an entire list, and you say, for example, we don't want outdoor vendors in the downtown. We want everything else here, but not outdoor vendors. You may have that outdoor vendor who comes back to you, why are you signaling out our group? And then explain your why.
Well, what's the best format that supports our brick and mortar business owners and landowners on Main Street? What supports the people that have the most invested?
Well, it's kind of a twofold question. So I'll tell you an upsetting thing that happened to me on Thursday when the cruise ship came in here. We worked very hard since my time being on the waterfront and overseeing the marina, was to get that cruise ship here. And for 24 visits. This is the first one I've actually been able to meet and greet the customers as they're coming off the boat. They came in 3 hours early. It was 3 o'clock. And the first thing one of their boaters said was, "We were told there's not anything to do in this town." Okay, now that's on me. That's waterfront. That's my job. So I mean, it was kind of upsetting because we do have restaurants. We do have a walkway. In essential, what they're saying is there's nowhere to shop. There's nowhere to buy Bucksport paraphernalia.
Yep.
And it's true. It's why we picked up a little bit here, and we have hats and T-shirts and stuff, and we're trying to do more. Every time I get an intern from Bucksport High School, their project is to create something that we give away or sell or whatnot. We learn marketing, we learn finance, we learn a lot in that. But so on that end, in my position, it's hard not having the retail here. I've also witnessed building owners who had people who didn't pay rent for months and years and put up with it, who were in retail. You know, your services, your lawyers, your doctors, your health, and they pay their bills. So not to say that all retail doesn't, but I mean, Larry, as a building owner, could probably tell you he has more success, possibly, or Mark, you know, he has more success in such and such business that rents for them. So, you know, you gotta feel compassion also for your building owners who, you know, set up shop here, they rent out their space, and, you know, they should be paid their monthly rents. So it's a couple different ways to look at it. So the way it's set up now, you know, would it be nice on that back deck at Lighthouse Arts Center if you had a place to grab a little bite to eat and sit on the deck and enjoy the view and everything? Yeah, that, you know, that adds to the character. Is it that building owner's right to put a place of worship there? The way our ordinances read, yes it is, and she's getting income to be able to pay her rent. So it's hard to answer that. I hope I answered and gave you
I have a
different
question
point of
for you,
views.
Rich. I think you brought up a very good point, and you're very good at putting these things together. Have you contacted any of the other ports? I mean, American Cruise Line is across this country.
Mhm.
Have you asked them where they have success and where they have failure? In other words, where the customers that are happiest and where they say, oh, there's nothing to do here. I mean, what is it about the different locations they go to? I just had some friends that went on the Mississippi, and then they went up in Oregon, and, you know, on American Cruise. So I know that they're huge. Have we asked those questions?
We haven't asked those per se. I know in conversations we've had as to why, you know, why they do come to Bucksport, we're a safe harbor.
Yeah, we know
They're
that.
able to get their buses in here and do what they want. We've really, Mike and I have really promoted the fort
Mhm.
and keeping the folks here. This last example is a pretty rough one because they came in early and stayed for 3 days because of the remnants of
Yeah,
the
I have
hurricane,
some
so that
video
made it a
of
little
them, some
different.
drone footage
Yeah.
of them. I think I even caught you on the pier.
Yeah.
But, you know, to see them come in is wonderful, and we've been talking about this now for the last couple of years. So to hear you say, oh, there's nothing to do, that's what they're telling you. I think we need to step up and find out where success is on these cruise lines. That's all, just my thoughts.
I would guess it's places that have more infrastructure and more people.
Well, I would guess that too, Mark.
Hence
But
the
you
reason
know
for
what
people who don't
assume
want
they-
them in their communities right now, right? So we know what's going on in Bar Harbor and other communities, right? They They don't
Mhm.
want that.
Also, the problem is that once the cruise ships go, for the rest of the year, how does the town support the stores that you want here, which are going to cater to the cruise ships? It's, if the town can't support them and keep them afloat, you know.
So I think what we wanna say there, Joe, is you have your tourist season,
Well,
right? The
yeah,
cruise ship is
I understand.
bonus because we've gone from as high as 10 to now 24 with the push. This is what we can offer, this is what we can offer. Cheaper dockage, we don't charge per customer to come out, we provide electricity, we provide water, we take their trash at a fee, so, we're business friendly to the cruise ships, and then their meals, if you haven't looked at the prices of these, the American Cruise Line, I encourage you to look at their
Yeah.
website. It's all inclusive and you would understand why, but they do still come off. And if someone is there to greet them, you can dispel that. But the problem is, I don't have the time to always be down here, to always catch them. I've asked for help from the Historical Society. They don't have, we just don't have the infrastructure in place to have someone there. They're constantly changing their schedule. It's kind of, hit or miss. I'm glad I heard it.
What you're saying then, to cater to the tourist season, can the Alamo be open when the cruise ships are here and their program set up? I'm just throwing that out there since, my point was, well, if you're gonna have a business all year round, the town's got to support. If not, if it's gonna be just during the season when the cruise ships are here, then the Alamo would fit into that in a way. You can have program, whether it's music or if it's a special film event or whatever, and it's open for that night when they come back from wherever they're going, because the restaurants, if they're paying, like I said, paying for these cruises and they have the meal on board, they're gonna go out and spend money for a meal when they paid for that meal already. They may, there has to be some type of event, and we don't really have that type of event within town, especially which would be a nighttime event for these people, whether it's music, club, or whatever.
Unfortunately, their schedule has been the biggest hit of this whole thing, cause I know Rich put a lot of work into this year with their
Yep.
schedule and trying to line things up, and their schedule changing has really made a mess of that. So, if everyone could plan, that's a good theory, if everyone could plan the schedule.
The route continues to go back to, and I'll tell you right now, in this
Yeah.
last week, 3 different business owners. I reached out initially because I got business owners saying, I'm losing workers because there's no apartments in town. True story, I'll give you their names. Then I call and ask them, we don't have any space. Then I'm getting other business owners, I can't find help. This is true, and you can look online, and I've left the phone calls.
Yeah.
So it's all goes back and forth. When the kids go back to school, that's quite a bit of the workforce. I know Mr. Boothby has sat on this committee and said that it's hard to hire teachers, get them to come here, because there's nowhere for them to live. We're really waiting and needing Penquist to build some affordable workforce housing, because we don't have it.
Yeah.
We don't have enough, it's all cyclical, it all plays into its role. That goes to housing, the tourists, the folks who support the downtown businesses, because if you live on the River Road out in the 1600s, you're pretty much closer to Brewer than you are Bucksport, right? If you're way out on 46, you're pretty much closer to Ellsworth than you are to downtown Bucksport. If you need to purchase clothes and you're a gentleman, your choices in Bucksport are at the Family Dollar. So you're probably gonna go to a mall in Bangor or a shopping center in Ellsworth, and while you're there, well, hey, I might as well grab a bite to eat, right? So it's really trying to keep them all here. So the cruise ship is bonus. We do a good job attracting the tourists here. We have things to do. The swings are a big hit. The walkway itself is a big hit. I always, matter of fact, I gotta thank Chris Johnson. They kept the Historical Society open. Boat came in, like I said, at 3. It closed at 3. He reopened it and let the passengers inside so they can see it. So that was great.
Nice.
Talk about Jonathan Buck's grave and the stuff that they can do on Main Street. And then, talking about the Alamo, I think Ron serves on that board, or you served on that board.
I still do.
It's very tough. I mean, the Alamo runs, Northeast Historic Film is what keeps the Alamo Theater going, right? The Alamo depends on sponsors for the movies, and things like that, or Paula Key to put her Wednesdays on Main events there, or other groups, the International Maritime Film Festival. Those are what keep it going throughout the year. So it's trying to get that whole big coordinated effort, and you really just gotta dig hard. So, like I said, it's nice, but you know, what are the other people saying when I'm not there to greet them when they come off the cruise ship? Do they walk off, look up Main Street, and then walk right back on and just sit on the boat? So, it was an eye-opening experience, and it's something that I take personal, so I'll work hard at it.
Question for you, do they do a survey for each one of the cruises when they're done?
I don't know that answer.
It'd be nice to know if they would share some information. I'm sure they must do some type of survey at the end. It would be nice to know.
Yeah, I can check with Eric.
You know, feedback's always good.
Feedback is great. 360 is important.
So,
I'd also,
this is all good discussion, but can we get back to the agenda item?
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the committee's pleasure on, you know,
Um,
do you want to take time to review and look at all the categories and figure
Yeah,
it out?
I think,
The ladies
that's what
want to
I'd
go
like to
shopping.
propose is that a subgroup here that's interested in this, I mean, it was put on the agenda because someone brought it to your attention. It came up before when the lighthouse was, you know, put a place of worship in there. So there is some interest in this committee, whether it's an overriding interest or not, but at a subgroup, you formed to look at it, and I think it's way too cumbersome to be hashing this out as a group here, but come back with a
I'm happy to be on that.
I'll be on it.
Do you need one more person?
yeah, can do. If you're looking for one more, I'll do, it's fine.
All right,
Okay.
we can do that. That's great. Thank you all.
Item 5, discussion of items not on the agenda for committee and public. We'll start with the public.
Hello there, I'm Steven St. Peter Jr. I'm the owner of Budget Science Law for Bucksport, Maine, and Bucksport. I've been meeting with several people that have charging station apps. I met with a gentleman from Scarborough, David Say. He came up with his partner and stuff. We went around Bucksport, introduced people that own businesses in Bucksport. He has about 5,000 subscribers to the app, and it's been profitable, and he's impressed with how beautiful this town is, how quiet it is. I give him some stats about, we have about 4,000 to 5,000 citizens in Bucksport. We went and had lunch at my buddy's. We also got shakes over at Bucksport Nutrition. I'm gonna also meet with another charging app developer. I've already talked on Zoom with him. So there's more and more interest in Bucksport and Maine and stuff like that as a whole for a charging station. So let's just say that David Say was very impressed. I got to ride in his Rivian. Got to discuss ideas and stuff like that to make it so that more people come to Bucksport to use the chargers and shop and eat and do other different things. So just so I let you guys know, the app is known as Chargerly, and that's CHARGELY, and he's doing really good. So I better let you guys get back to it.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone on the committee?
Since
Go ahead,
I-
John.
A couple of weeks ago, I took a walk along the water, right, all the way down, just before Bucksport House of Peace along the walkway. You have the retaining clips, those long metal bars, and they're jammed into the ground with spikes, so the bricks don't separate. Half of them were overturned. There was two with a 6-inch spike. The nail part was sticking up, so I had to come back with a hammer, turn them over, and because the kids are running, kids fall on that. Yeah. Same thing happened. Where are we? Just before the bridge, a little bridge over the little creek here, the reservoir. It's all upturned, and those retaining bars are up and out and the bricks are separated. And they're at different levels, which is not good. If it's dark out, people are walking. There's gotta be maintenance on that. It's not a big deal to turn them back up. I guess the other year, during the winter with that storm, soil got washed away and they all, but someone's gotta put it back and handle the spikes. Especially when I was down there by the railroad tracks, the kids are all running and that's the first thing I saw was these spikes sticking up.
Yeah, we've fixed the walkway 3 different times already this
Yeah,
year, Joe.
I'm
It's a
not-
continual maintenance, but we will
Point, I'm
keep
just
an eye.
saying.
Yeah, no, we will,
So,
we'll keep an eye.
you know, I did that, 'cause that was bad. And speaking with Tosiers, they were concerned about if we start work on the roadway, what happened to the Tosiers in Searsport, they didn't want to see happen to them. They were wondering, I doubt it's gonna be able to.
We don't wanna see it either.
If they can work at night when they work in front of the road, or if there could be some way people can get into them, or if they can be alleviated with something to keep them alive when we do. It was just what they said to me, right? So I'm just repeating it. Is another restaurant going into Warren's since it was sold? Do we know?
I don't know that last, Joe.
And Glenn's is for sale.
Nope, it's off the market.
Huh?
He took it off.
He took it off?
Yep.
He told me the other week, I said he took it off, so maybe, well, no, I hope the restaurant's going to Warren's. Since we talked about a comical thing, Wednesdays on May and everything we're doing, I haven't seen any of you guys for any of the events at the Alamo for Wednesday on May. I haven't seen for the Silent Film Festival, for any of the music, for Kenizer Hall, for the local group from Verona Island. It's up to us to support them a little bit. So just keep it in mind, so Paula Key, when she sees, she says, where's everybody else?
Sure.
I told her the truth. I said, Mark told him not to come.
All right. All right, anyone else?
Joe, be careful how you say any of them.
Oh, okay, that's true, that's true.
Okay.
I did,
So,
I apologize. But like I said, it's a comical, of the pointing fingers. But that's all I wanted to say.
All right.
yeah, I was wondering, Rich, you gave me a good update on VIP, and I was wondering if you could give the group an update of
Oh, the VPI?
PPI.
Yes.
Right.
So the VPI is the construction project. I spoke with the owners of Tozier's and explained what we're looking at for Stan Stair. But originally when the project was rolled out, we were told and we were saying it was gonna be $1 million project. And then it came back to our understanding that the project engineering PE was actually a 50-50 split. So we had to ask the voters to not exceed $1.2 million. I let Jared at the DOT know that the voters passed the measure and everything was great. There was a little bit of radio silence. He didn't even respond to one. So then it came back. He called and said, I got some news for you in regards to your project. And anyway, long story short, the 50-50% is not happening anymore. It's now 90% DOT, 10% town. So we're going to save $300,000 on this project. So we're back under the $1 million threshold for the town. So it's in the DOT's hands, as are 3 other projects that I'm working with them on right now. We need to get going.
What do you envision planning through the winter, and then when might we see activity?
The DOT has to apply for that that's a RAISE grant to do the VPI work. I would think the winter should be enough time.
Does that involve more meetings to talk about sidewalks and stuff, or is that all
That's-
done?
It's my understanding that there will be, the project engineering stuff will come back to the town and we have meetings, is my understanding.
Well, I know, we need a sidewalk going past Mark's. I mean, that was the whole point of having the discussion to begin with.
I think it was on that original plan, and then as you know, with the last project, we were actually able to extend out the sidewalk, to Central Street MPI over by McLeod's Restaurant, made a huge difference over there.
Mhm.
So some things have happened, some things are going towards that project, so all that is ADA stuff, so ADA sidewalks, all that, parking parking, trees.
I know you got permission from the owners to build the steps in back of community pharmacy.
We got permission for easements,
Yes, so
two
you,
separate easements, one
right, so
for
that you
parking
could-
to come out, and then one for,
For-
utilities.
I thought you got one for coming, so people could come down from the
That would be
parking
the
lot.
church.
Well, right behind community pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would be the church.
well, that'd be the church. But
I don't
You
know
got-
that they gave a formal easement. They've shown a willingness to have discussions and allow
There's
parking.
no easement.
So there's still no steps that would be
steps.
built there?
Nothing behind,
I-
bug stacks over there would have been nice. but no.
Well, I
No,
think
no, no,
it's-
where we're talking about, where Rich is talking about is community pharmacy parking lot and the new one we created.
Right, which is
Those will be
really
connected
nice.
With
Right,
some kind of.
but then we
pedestrian.
talked about, I thought, we talked about having from the upper parking lot
Steps
stairs
down,
to
right.
come down.
I
Well,
think
we
we
didn't-
talked about it being a good idea,
I
but
think Larry brought it
wasn't-
up as a conceptual idea,
Well,
but it was
yeah,
never
it wasn't anything in
more.
that plan.
Because they couldn't do any, MDOT couldn't do anything with private land. They couldn't
Right.
say.
That's why
up
the
to the
easement
church.
was needed.
Mm. I mean, yes, an easement would be needed, but we haven't, I don't.
remember it pretty distinctly. I thought even the owner came down and I think there was
The
a
pastor?
discussion. Yeah, I think so. I think he said he was all for it.
Well,
I don't remember.
I thought,
that-
I'm
that's a
not really
conversation I had
wrong.
with him,
Couple
2 or
years.
3 years ago,
Yeah,
that he was all for it.
he was all for it.
And he still
think-
said
I
he has no
think-
problem with parking.
That-
there.
And that's what
But I don't know that he's willing to give I'm not sure about an easement, but
oh,
I
I
just don't know.
think we should look into it. I mean, it only makes sense to have it come right down, make it as easy for folks to come down, because that's where you wanna push them,
Right.
once the parallel parking is in
Right.
place, unfortunately. I'm not happy
how
about
do you
it.
feel about that?
I'll tell you how I feel, okay, because I think it's a killer for
That
some
was
of these
the
businesses
eight-sided
that are
point.
trying to survive.
I
So,
thought for sure there was something on those
I
plans.
thought so too.
I think there is.
I could've sworn there was that we needed to get
Conceptual.
that. But that's just me. Larry, you and I agree, okay? I think the rest need to agree with us. They need to have
I have
stairs
it
coming
noted,
down.
and I'll follow up with them,
Thank you.
with, Pastor Donato.
Well, I think it's part of the plan. I think it needs to be done in order to make it as easy as possible for people to come down from that parking lot, get down onto Main Street. Oh, there you go. Just another little piece of the pie. And Tozer's, I can understand why they'd be a little concerned about the
Yeah.
project. Absolutely be concerned about the project. They mentioned it to my wife the other day. So, I think they're already,
I've been in contact with the owners prior to them voting at the election.
Mhm.
I will assure you that I have had conversations with them, and if we can make it work, the goal will be to have night, because remember, there's a Tozer's in Searsport and a Tozer's in Brewer. The Tozer's in Brewer was all night construction, the Tozer's in Searsport was day construction. In Searsport, they were dealing with water and sewer as well, which is really hard to do at nighttime.
yes.
Right, so these are different projects, these are different times, I understand, I'm friends with the Tozers, I appreciate every business owner in this town.
Right.
And the worst thing that can happen is that construction on what's meant to make things better upend anyone. But we also have to understand that as of today, people might be in a certain situation
Mhm.
that maybe could potentially be exacerbated, but we don't know the full stories anywhere with any business.
Mhm.
It behooves the town, and would be in our best interest to have nighttime construction, and that is one of the things that I personally would be pressing when it comes time for bids.
Okay. Hey,
Well, the good thing
as
about
long as we
Tulsa
don't
is
shut
that
them down for 2 years
there's
like they
the
did. in
insurance
Searsport.
agency next door now, they have a
God.
large parking lot acceptable
The hell are
from
they
the street,
thinking?
from Franklin. People can still go in there and walk into Toy and go, as long as they don't complain, which I don't think they would.
All right, Larry.
Rich, the walls up by Buck Cemetery?
Oh.
Is that-
Yeah, where's that
The
at?
plans just came to my office today, so we've had a hookup, or a hiccup, I should say. So the property owners across the street did not want their trees, their bushes, their privacy, noise prevention going away. And of course, the easy answer is, well, just eliminate that wall. However, the DOT was not very happy with me when we had to change the Central Street project because it came in over budget, and asked me to be sure this time that we weren't making any changes. So I asked the engineer to please price out trees, and we need to put it all out to bid together. So it either happens or it doesn't happen. It needs to come in under $600,000. And we have a quote, we have a good guess on what the cost is gonna be for those trees to replace for them. They absolutely would not do the project without the trees. So,
But you think you found a workable solution?
I just got the plans today. A few hours ago, she was here talking to Sue and left me the plans and the bills. So yes, I think it's a workable solution, and now it's gonna be up to what we get for bids.
Anyone else?
We have a meeting tomorrow night. I sent you all a personal invite if you are able to attend. That's the part of the SHIP grant in conjunction with the Waterfront Committee for the Downtown Coastal Resiliency Master Plan. It's essentially this waterfront walkway. It's been in the enterprise, it's been on the website, it's been on the town's Facebook page. There was a survey, we've had 38 responses at my last check with the engineering firm. It's gonna be held here tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, so again, you are all invited to attend if you are able to do so. Public workshop downtown Bucksport, Coastal Resiliency Master Plan. Master Plan as well. This is the survey. So 2 separate ads, 1 ad for the survey, a 2nd ad for the public workshop tomorrow night. You can click on the public input survey. It's 6 questions. I also have hard copies here for people who don't use the internet. They're very simple. What do you value about the waterfront area? Additions, improvements. Have you experienced impacts from the coastal flooding? Areas of concern? Do you support local, regional, and state efforts to protect the downtown area? And what are the 3 most important things in the downtown waterfront area you'd like prioritized for protection? This will go on till August 31st, and will all be calculated into the response. This grant has to wrap up by December 31st, but I just thought I'd share that with you if you haven't had a chance to do the survey. I know right behind the schools, the waterfront walkways, another one of the major assets of this town, especially as it relates to economic development. So if you haven't, please do. If you need a hard copy, I can get you one from upstairs before you leave tonight.
All right. Thanks, Rich. Next meeting.
I believe that would be September 9th.
Just a quick announcement, the Paper Mill Museum's having a soft opening on Labor Day, and the day after, 2nd and 3rd of September. Soft open,
Soft?
soft.
Okay. And,
We'll be hanging lunch boxes from the rafters,
oh, nice.
so that'll be kind of ceremonial.
Yep.
They're gonna stay there for, as permanent part of the display.
We'll put some up and we'll take them down, but yes, it will be permanent eventually. Be kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Reminiscent of your ice cream scoops.
All right. Item 7. Adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to a second. All in favor?